Is Talanoa Hufanga the next superstar safety for the San Francisco 49ers? We're getting into that on today's program. The usage from Deebo and Brandan Aiyuk, the starting wide receivers so far in 2022, how that might look going forward with now Jimmy Garoppolo instead of Trey Lance at quarterback, and some injuries to go over for the San Francisco 49ers in the backfield. Ty Davis-Price, one game in, and now he is out again with a high ankle sprain. Tyler Kroft, a tight end, out. And so hopefully George Kittle coming back this week. All that and more on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always. And of course, on this Wednesday episode, we've got a very special guest, Winky Wednesday, Mr. Nicholas Winkler.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
Can't believe it.
How did you feel, Wink, when you saw young Trey Lance go down in a heap and the cart come in to take him off the field in week 2?
Heartbroken, right? I mean, you just, my family plays around me as I'm watching the game, so they can tell what my mood is. And I just dropped a, oh no. My wife's like, oh no, did somebody get hurt? Like she could hear in my voice that someone, I was like, yeah, someone got hurt. It's just, you feel for the kid, right? I mean, 4 starts and he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to earn the locker room. He's trying to get the trust. He's trying to figure it out. And now it's like, he's got to hit the reset button, and it breaks your heart.
I've said my piece about, Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance and the whole thing and how it ended up. Do you have any thoughts about it now that Jimmy Garoppolo is back? What's your overall take there before we move ahead, start looking ahead to the Denver Broncos and talk a little Hufanga, a little Deebo, a little Brandan Aiyuk, and some of the injuries for the 49ers this week?
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that they were re-signing and restructuring Jimmy's contract, I said it was the best thing they could possibly do, right? It's an amazing insurance policy, and here we are, week 3, middle of week 2, early on in week 2, and they were already cashing that insurance in. So it was a great move by the front office. You hate to see it go down like this, but you got to because if they hadn't done that, Brock Purdy would have been starting and playing the rest of that game, and maybe they would have done some things differently, and maybe it would have been Nate Sudfeld. Who knows? But regardless, you'd much rather have Jimmy Garoppolo in there as opposed to this. So if I can stink on something real quick before we move it forward. Last week I said, keep Jimmy Garoppolo's name out your damn mouth. This week it's keep Trey Lance's name out your damn mouth. So many people, he's a bust. Oh, this and that's like, kid's played 4 games. Like, give him a shot. He got hurt. Like, he was doing everything good. He's laying there hurt on the ground, and he's asking Kyle, like, hey, about my read on that last play. It just drives me mad. And this stuff with calling Cal hurt and calling him a terrible person. Like, I get it. He dated your daughter that probably didn't end up the way you wanted it to be, but just guys, leave it alone. Let the poor guy go get some healing done. Let him go through his rehab. Imagine how much this sucks for fans, right? All of us, we hate it. Now imagine you're Trey Lance. Like, you're going through it right now. It's got to be rough. And so just cut the guy some slack, man.
DeWink is on fire.
It worked up.
Yeah. No, it's not a great situation, except for now the 49ers are still in a pretty good place with Jimmy Garoppolo. Good defense. Go in some games. Like, they're still as good or better. Do you like their chances more now with Jimmy? I think that's pretty much the consensus of the Vegas betting lines. Looking at BetOnline, we'll get to them a little bit later. Pretty much everyone thinks the 49ers are better now without the guy they spent 3 number 1 picks on. They're better with the old guy, Jimmy Garoppolo, at least for this year at quarterback. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? I mean, guys led him to a Super Bowl, led him to an NFC Championship game. Yeah, he wasn't the reason they got there, but he's a winner. He's proven that he can do it in the NFL. And with Trey Lance, you knew there was going to be ups and downs. You knew there was going to be bumps in the road, right? And now you got Jimmy. It's like when he runs on the field, it's like an old friend. Like, oh, look who's back. Yeah, here we go. Jimmy time.
Croc, do you think the running back usage for Trey Lance was a factor of his athleticism and just an extra way to use him? Or do you think Kyle truly didn't know how to use him as a passer or thought he wasn't there as a passer? Because before we went live, you showed me a little video that was a cut up of Jimmy G missing a bunch of throws. And of course, you can make a highlight film, make someone look good in 60 seconds. You can make someone look terrible in 60 seconds. And the 49ers won that game easily. And Garoppolo, I thought, played okay. Looked similar to old Garoppolo, but he's always a guy that makes some funny throws at times. Do you believe that Trey Lance couldn't have taken the 49ers there if his running usage was the same as Jimmy's running usage and he was used more as a traditional passer? You don't think he could have gotten the 49ers there?
I think Kyle tells you that's how he feels, but I don't know. I mean, I've watched a lot of football. I've watched every single snap of Trey Lance as a quarterback. We talked about his kind of development and where he's headed, and I don't think that the Trey Lance that we saw Sunday evening was the same Trey Lance we saw first preseason game 2021 or second, or even the Arizona Cardinals game. It seemed to me like he has continued to kind of progress as a passer and kind of know where to go with the ball. And I felt like he was kind of stacking those up. Obviously, the Bears game didn't end the way you wanted in the fourth quarter, but if you just freeze the game after 3 quarters and looked at the throws that he was making, the levels of the field that he was attacking, the high level throws that he made, the layered throws, etc., it looked good. It didn't look like somebody that can't function in an offense. And then, again, I talk about last game, albeit 2 drives, and he only threw passes on 1 drive, the first drive, but it didn't look like somebody that didn't understand where to go with the ball. He got the ball in his hands quick to Brandon Aiyuk. He ended up having a nice catch and run on the blitz with a free runner right to his face. He got the ball out quick, knew exactly where to go with it, delivered an accurate ball, albeit short of the end zone, but he was accurate with the throw versus tight coverage. So I thought he was somebody that continued to improve as a passer, and I didn't see a guy that's like, oh man, you just can't utilize him unless you're talking about throwing in the monsoon. Now, if you're talking about throwing in the monsoon, I wouldn't suggest it with Trey Lance. But outside of that, I just felt like he consistently was improving with understanding where to go, and I don't know. But again, Kyle told us different with the way that he called the plays, so I'm probably wrong.
The 49ers haven't found a good monsoon passer yet, so who knows? Maybe in 2024 with one of those, when they finally have a first-round pick again, they'll find a guy who's got like webbed fingers or something like that. Wink, do you blame Kyle Shanahan for Trey Lance's injury?
I don't think you can blame him for it, but he definitely didn't do anything to protect his quarterback from that situation, right? Like, it's a freak accident, but it's an obvious running down, and you run your quarterback up the middle. Like, it wasn't a smart play call at all, and it sucks that it went down like that. But to blame Kyle, you can't really do that. But you can't give him a pass either, right? You can't just say like, oh, he was doing what was in the best interest for his quarterback and his football team. Like, was it? It didn't seem like, especially. I mean, obviously we know the outcome, so we know what happened on that play call. Would I have made that play call? Of course not. But like you said, Croc, you nailed it. Like we see stuff, right? We see Trey Lance and we like what we see, but Kyle obviously sees it differently, or he wouldn't be doing all these designed runs to a quarterback, right? I mean,
well, I think he still will, because when you draft Trey Lance at quarterback, you draft the total package, right? Big arm, strong, athletic, can make all the throws. And I thought at different times he showed that he can do all those things, including run the rock. So that's just part of the package of getting a guy like that. Now, I think it's on Trey Lance to understand how to protect himself. And Lamar Jackson runs a lot. He has ran, thousands of yards in the NFL. And you rarely see anybody get a straight shot on him. You rarely see people driving him into the ground. I know he is a much more dynamic athlete at quarterback than Trey Lance. Nobody's as dynamic as Lamar Jackson.
There's one.
But if you watch Lamar Jackson in an open field when he runs, or not even in an open field, he does these weird things to where he doesn't take shots. It's almost like Floyd Mayweather. I was on 95.7 the game, and that's why I compared it to Floyd Mayweather. Have you ever just seen Floyd Mayweather just take hits, right? Like just boom, boom, just solid blows. No, he's so good defensively, even though he's right there in front of you. So I think Lamar Jackson is very similar to where he's out there, he's running more than anyone. He's getting tackled more than anyone. But when you watch how he gets tackled, he twists his body, he goes down. He does all these things where he's not fighting for the extra yardage. He's not putting his body in harm's way. And if Trey Lance isn't going to be a slider like Justin Fields, or Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, then learn how to get down without putting yourself in harm's way. And when you look at when he got hurt, I don't think the bigger issue was the actual play call. I think it was his inability to understand, how do I go down without taking the brunt of contact from 3 guys that are going out to tackle me? And he got to learn that.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both too, because you don't want your quarterback anywhere near a 320-pound nose tackle and a 245-pound linebacker to be sandwiched in that point, but also the quarterback has to be able to protect himself. And if you notice that the quarterback's not good at protecting himself, you probably have to call less of those plays too.
Did you hear what Kyle Shanahan said to you, though, Peacock? I think he was talking specifically to you.
He probably asked me if I'd ever watched football before.
Do you watch football?
Yeah.
Then he compared him to Josh Allen. It's like, come on. That's a bit different. He's built a little bit differently.
Kyle's on my naughty list right now.
I would say
condescending, talking to some folks and then talking about, and I agree. He was asked the question about quarterback sneaks, and quarterback sneaks to me is one of the things you have to use. And it is something that quarterbacks don't get hurt a lot on, but that's why you don't add extra hits because you can't take it completely out 100%. And I think you said it perfectly, Wink. You have to still protect your quarterback when you can. It's not like you don't block for him when he's in the pocket too. You try to have him not get hit. He wears a different colored jersey in practice. Why? Because you don't want your quarterback getting hit, right? And so then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but now it's okay. Let's get him hit. Let's run directly into Al Woods, who's as big as a friggin' house.
I would say that they do run. I mean, they run however they feel like running with Josh Allen. And I know he's probably 25 pounds heavier than Trey Lance and a couple inches taller. But he's what is it, suspectable? What was the word I'm looking for? He has the same opportunity to get injured as Trey Lance, knock on wood. He just hasn't. And with Trey Lance, it was almost more of a freak injury with just the way he got folded on his ankle. Now, again, the more you run and you're in there, you open yourself to that opportunity. But Josh Allen, he leaves himself open to having a similar injury. And I hope it doesn't happen. But
you know who else did was Cam Newton. And Cam Newton was an MVP in his mid-20s, and then he was done being a starting quarterback in the NFL at 29 because he had hamburger for a shoulder because he got too many hits.
Lowered that shoulder.
Right. It might not happen in the first quarter of week 2 for any quarterback. It might happen in year 4. It might happen when you're 29. But eventually that is going to happen. If you get hit, you get hurt. That's what happens in the NFL. And we saw that in Ty Davis Price's first game as a rookie. 14 carries, running back, hurt. We'll get to that next. Talanoa Hufanga, the next superstar for the San Francisco 49ers. But first, I got to let the folks out there know about LinkedIn. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job to the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can be advised that you are looking for help, and they will help you find the right people to interview and then hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize and interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering high-quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again, everybody, for making Locked On 49ers your first listen. For your second listen, make sure you checked out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, myself and former NFL scout Matt Williamson, and of course, Croc doing Locked On NFL Draft Daily right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So, just to drive the point home further about running backs getting injured, and somehow Kyle Shanahan or 49ers recent running backs more than ever. It took 16 carries into Trey Lance's season to get hurt, and it took Ty Davis Price 14 carries into his season to get hurt. Ty Davis Price with a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss multiple weeks. Tight end Tyler Kroft with a sprained MCL. He's also going to be out multiple weeks. And is this just luck, or is there something in Kyle Shanahan's offense that helps runners of the football get hurt? Because it's kind of crazy at this point, right?
I mean, the 49ers preach physicality. And when you watch how they go out there and they are able to dominate the Dallas Cowboys team on the road, the Dallas Cowboys team that forced a ton of takeaways throughout that season, they had some big dogs over there. 49ers frustrated them with their physicality. You look at how they're able to go into Green Bay and be able to beat the Green Bay Packers in that type of weather, right? 0-degree weather. That's what Aaron Rodgers wanted. Oh, it'd be a little different if they had to go to Lambeau Field in the wintertime. Well, no, it wasn't different. 49ers still won, right? Because they play a physical brand of football. So you don't want to take that away, but how do you keep them more upright, right? Like, how do you keep guys from playing that style of football but not getting hurt? And we know injuries hurt, but gosh, it just seems like, or injuries happen, but I feel like it just happens more to the 49ers running backs and obviously quarterback with Trey Lance, but it just happens so much more. And that's the part I've been trying to wrap my head around as to why exactly that is. I mean, every year, you can't make this up. Last year, first game of the season, Raheem Mostert, he goes down. Elijah Mitchell, he was barely able to play, 10 games or whatever it was. They consistently have these injuries to the backfield. That's why every year they have a leading rusher. Every single year they've had a new rusher. And someone asked me, they said, hey, Croc, who's going to lead the 49ers in rushing this year? This was prior to the season started. Matter of fact, it was my guy Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners. And he asked, and I'm like, shoot, it's probably going to be the person you least expect. It's not going to be the guy who starts the season. We know that, right? It's not going to be Elijah Mitchell, even though he's the most talented back they have. And it's probably not going to be the second string back either, whoever that is. It's probably going to be a guy by the name of Jordan Mason. And not because I think Jordan Mason is just so much better than everyone. It's just he's probably just going to be the last man standing and able to take the most carries. And then all of a sudden he's successful because he is running behind a good run blocking offense. So I don't know if it's the philosophy of the team. You like that the 49ers are so physical, but man, guys are getting banged up playing this style of football.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It is the physicality, right? They want to lean on you. They want to wear you down. And you can keep going back. Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon. Like, these guys get hurt every year in this kind of offense. And it's unfortunate, right? Because you're like, okay, who's up next? Who else we got? And so Jeff Wilson coming out of that looking good, right? So hopefully he could stay healthy, but he's had his injury issues as well. So it's just a tough spot for the 49ers. It could just be freak injuries, right? Or it could be that, maybe instead of lowering your shoulder and trying to get that extra 1 yard, maybe you go down. It's the same kind of stuff we're talking about for Trey Lance. Maybe the running backs need to do a little bit more of that too. And real quick, Crocker, that Aaron Rodgers impression was spot on. I loved it.
I've been working on my impressions, especially Aaron Rodgers.
It's not as good.
Got it down.
Yeah, it's not as good as your Trent Baalke, but that was solid.
That's true.
Yeah, well, because Trent Baalke, he has like a raspy voice, so that's just a little bit more natural for me.
You slip into it sometimes on accident, huh?
Yeah. Oh, man, I didn't even know my phone was ringing.
Kyle Shanahan did say that Jordan J.P. Mason, the undrafted rookie from Georgia Tech, is going to be ready this week. He hadn't gotten any carries the first 2 weeks, even though he was active. So he's going to be the running back 2, it looks like, to Jeff Wilson, and then Marlon Mack likely up from the practice squad as well, working in there. So that will be the running back crew this week for the 49ers against the Denver Broncos.
Hey, real quick, Peacock, as it pertains to Marlon Mack, and I saw the notification, I don't know if you got it, but not only is he being brought up from practice squad, I mean, he's been signed to the 53-man roster. So
he'll be there.
That's even different because, they can delegate somebody to come up from practice squad
right.
For the game. No, he's actually on the 53-man. So I think they are 100% expecting him to tote that rock a little bit.
Did they officially put Ty Davis Price on IR? It's a multi-week injury. I would assume they would if they think he's going to be out for 4 weeks. By the way, I heard a report, now I can't remember where it was from, that it looks like Jimmy Ward will probably be back around week 5-ish after his first 4 weeks of IR. At least that's the expectation right now. So that's good news on Jimmy Ward if he is indeed back and doesn't miss half the season as was reported after his hamstring injury there. So that's good news if he can come back right when he's ready from his IR stint.
Yeah, because that defense is playing well right now. So you inject him into that in a couple of weeks. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Speaking of the 49ers defense and their safeties, Talanoa Hufanga we've been teasing it for like 2 full episodes now. We are going to talk Talanoa Hufanga next. Tashawn Gibson not playing too bad either, a free safety for the 49ers in the first couple of weeks of the season next. But how about BetOnline? By the way, some BetOnline lines are moving after 2 weeks of the NFL season. BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports information this season. How about Jimmy G jumping up from 150 to 1 to 40 to 1 for MVP odds this year? Josh Allen still the top odds to win MVP. Tua jumps from 40 to 1 to 16 to 1 with that 6 touchdown performance against the Ravens in week 2. How about this one? Mike McDaniel is the new favorite for coach of the year in the NFL. Nick Sirianni of the Eagles jumps up to 5 to 1, and Frank Reich goes from 25 to 1 down to 40 to 1 after the Colts got completely blanked on offense by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So interesting movement there with some BetOnline football betting lines. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and reviews, including this year's week 3 games. BetOnline also is your continued source for sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, you name it, they have it at BetOnline. So get over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Is Talanoa Hufanga, Wink, your new favorite 49er? Because he's quickly becoming mine. The dude is so fun to watch. I love the way he plays. I love hearing him speak, his interviews, off the field. And there's still like, and by the way, I think it's Cameron in the YouTube comments brought up the point. It's like, okay, we've seen Chicago in the rain, and he did have some mishaps in coverage there, even though he's all over the place. And we've seen the Seahawks that were thoroughly dominated. We haven't seen them quite tested on the back end yet, and they've got some of those opponents coming up. But so far, from what I've seen from Hufanga, and especially in coverage, like getting hands on the balls and things, I've loved it. Yeah, he's just plain old fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he just has a nose for the football, right? You love those guys, especially at a safety position. He's coming up to the line of scrimmage. He's going back on balls. Like, I feel like every other play you look up and Hufanga's in on it somehow, right? He'll be in on the tackle. He could have been the reason the guy cut back and got tackled, but man, he's exciting to watch. He's a lot of fun. He's got that excitement. You can tell he loves playing football, and so I'm glad he's on our football team.
Listen, the play against Lockett, or the interception that went through his hands, probably the most impressive play of the entire game. What he was asked to do, when I saw the all-22, I said, no way they did not ask Hufanga to do this, which we've all heard, like, oh, man, he's a liability in coverage, et cetera, right? Like, that's the narrative people push. Maybe I pushed that narrative as well.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show, Croc. I said it too, and I was worried about Hufanga in deep coverage especially because of how much they interchange their safeties. And when he's deep middle of the field, that's not his strong suit. And I still want to see more of that if some teams can take advantage of it. But, man, he just looks quicker than he did last year now.
Did you see what he did, though?
I think it's mental processing. He's moving before other players are moving, and I think he makes up a step because of how smart he is.
Peacock, they put him in the slot, and essentially it's zero coverage. He has no help in the slot against Tyler Lockett. This isn't a tight end. This isn't a big, slow-moving receiver. This is Tyler Lockett, one of the more underrated receivers in the league, who can beat you. Like 49ers, we've seen it, what he's done to the 49ers. And they had Hufanga matched up in man coverage with no help. Late, you had a receiver kind of bailed a single high, but if he would have ran a slot fade, Hufanga had no help. And he sat on that route, and it looked like he was playing some sort of a catch technique. He sat and got hands on, undercut a route to have it go through his hands, and it still resulted in an interception. But the level of confidence that it takes to make that play, like prime Eric Crocker, and I don't know how good prime Eric Crocker was, but whatever the best version of me was, I was not doing that versus Tyler Lockett in a slot. So this is someone who definitely has more confidence in his coverage ability than most 49er fans have had. And maybe it's because of people like me who have gone out there, like, I don't know about him in coverage, or he's not the best athlete, or a step behind, whatever. He makes up for it with truly understanding where he's supposed to be, leverage, understanding maybe concepts and what he's expecting from the opponent from film study. Whatever it is, is playing out on the field. And he closed on this other one, not as impressive, but still very impressive against the same receiver. I believe it was Tyler Lockett, but he was a too high safety, looked like cover 4. And he ran, and you could see he matches up with him, and he just fires, and he closes with violence, and boom, knocked the ball out. As it got there, I said, oh my gosh, there's no wonder right now. And again, small sample size, right? You mentioned the opponents that he played against, Chicago Bears, and the elements that it was. Maybe that bode well for him at home against the Seattle Seahawks. And, you got Geno Smith there. He wasn't really trying to push the ball down the field. So maybe that's part of it, and he'll get tested more against Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford in the next couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, what he's doing right now, from a mental standpoint, it's been extremely impressive. And PFF has him rated right now the number 2 safety in the NFL behind Minkah Fitzpatrick. So can he sustain that? We'll see. But right now, the early returns, I see why maybe they were right to pass on Nick Cross, who Peacock and I both have been very boisterous about getting.
Hey, and how about this? Tayshaun Gibson is number 5 on PFF's season grades. So they got 2 top 5 safeties right now, according to PFF, of the way they've played in the first 2 weeks. We'll see how that continues to go for the 49ers. But, man, when Jimmy Ward comes back, maybe he's just going to have to sit on the bench. No. But maybe that...
To be fair.
Yeah,
to be fair, Justin Fields, Geno Smith were the 2 quarterbacks they went up against week 1 and week 2.
Well, we say that, and then, but I don't know if y'all watched.
They both look good.
Russell Wilson looks worse than both of them right now.
I was going to say, I don't know if y'all watched Russell Wilson, but he wasn't very good last week
right.
at home. I'm pretty sure Mile High, they're like, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. See, I've been working on my impersonations.
That's
Broncos
really good,
country,
too.
let's ride. And he was not riding in that game. I don't know what that was, but he started the game like completing like 5 of his first 20 passes.
He kept
like,
falling off the horse, I think.
Did they? We got to know. Do we have any injury update on Jerry Judy? I know he left that game. If he can't play, that's huge.
I have not seen an update on Jerry Judy, but yeah,
I'll try to look it up right now.
When guys leave the game and don't come back, that's usually not a good sign. But I can find out right quick. Speaking of wide receivers, though, Croc, I know you wanted to talk about Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk and their usage so far through 2 games. What have you seen there with the 49ers starting wide receivers?
There's been this stark contrast with how they're utilized. If you look at Deebo Samuel on the targets, especially against the Seattle Seahawks, and maybe a lot of this has to do with Jimmy Garoppolo coming in. They don't really have a plan for Jimmy to be the guy, right? Like in the Seattle Seahawks game. So maybe it was like, hey, man, we could just throw these screens. We can get a lot of passes to Deebo Samuel at or around the line of scrimmage. And we've seen that before, though, right? I mean, maybe it's not just because Jimmy just stepped in. I remember a Rams game where Deebo had like 100 yards and his average depth of target was like -1. So maybe that has something to do with it, but clearly they're really pushed the envelope with we're getting the ball in Deebo's hands right now, and still he had a very productive game as a receiver, as opposed to Brandon Aiyuk, who there were 3 passes downfield to him that were probably 25 plus yards where they weren't complete. 2 of them, though, resulted in flags. And then you just see how they utilize him throughout the rest of the game. Everything was kind of intermediate to kind of deep, 15 plus yards with how they were targeting him. So I don't know if teams are going to be able to say, oh, man, like the 49ers, they're going to throw out the line of scrimmage to Deebo, and they're going to throw downfield to Brandon Aiyuk. Will that be consistent? We'll see. But right now, there definitely has been a big difference with how they're utilized. And one more thing real quick. I would like to see Brandon Aiyuk get more separation vertically. Maybe it's the grass or whatever. But in the 2 passes that ended up being pass interference, great outcome. But to me, the worrisome part is just the lack of separation. There was no separation. Guys on him like white on rice, and he kind of got bailed out by more of a underthrown ball. So get vertical, stack defensive backs, create more of a window for your quarterback to throw the ball to you. I'd like to see him do that more on a vertical passing game. Right.
And Wink, even if, your receivers aren't getting tons of separation down the field, and maybe Jimmy G's not a great deep ball thrower, you got to keep teams honest. I want to see more deep ball attempts, because good things can happen. You might complete some passes, and you also might get those flags, and those are huge. Yeah. It's just been absent from the 49ers offense with Jimmy. I want him to play a little bit freer. Just throw some YOLO balls. Keep teams honest. And maybe that's not the MO for Kyle and Jimmy. It hasn't been, but I liked seeing that a few times last week with Jimmy in there.
Yeah, I think they took a shot to Danny Gray, didn't they? And that's, I want to see more of that too. Like, let's just stretch the field, right? It should open everything else up. Hopefully they get Kittle back this weekend too. That'll really change the whole scope of this offense once he's back in there, because he's such an important player, not only in the pass game, but in the run game for sure.
Right. Yeah. Getting Kittle back with the Croft injury, especially if you get Kittle back, you got Deebo, you got Aiyuk, you got Jimmy. I mean, it's just the gang's kind of back together, and it would be really helpful for Jimmy's style of play too, to have those guys that can catch the run and make some
head into Denver and ride.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Hey, Croc, you mentioned one of those balls and the lack of separation. One of the plays, it almost didn't even look like Aiyuk was trying to get open. Like that was it was on the right sideline. It was the free play where there was the offsides, and Jimmy chucked it up deep to Aiyuk. He didn't even look like he was running that hard, and it was almost like, was he not trying? Did he just want to? Did he expect the ball to be like a jump ball situation, so he wanted to be under control and not outrun the pass or something like that? Or did you see anything like that from Aiyuk with those routes and the lack of separation?
I am not an offensive guy, but talking to receivers, I do understand that there are progressions with play calls where they're working from one side to the other, and a guy to the back side can very well think there's no way the quarterback is getting to me in this read. So he could just kind of go off the
He's
ball.
like, well, Jimmy's not going to chuck one up to me. That's for sure.
Right. So maybe he just never thought that he'd be even a target in there, and he just kind of jogged off. And those are things that now listen, maybe that's not the case. And I don't want to, say he's doing something that he's not. Then people go and, oh, well, Croc said he's not trying on plays where he's not getting the ball. I don't want to do that. But
it, though.
there is a scenario where, man, I'm all the way backside. This is a 3-step drop, and this guy's getting the ball, and I'm just here to kind of run the DB off or whatever. Then all of a sudden, oh, man, the ball is coming to me. So there is a chance that happened. But I don't know. And we did hear, got in a little bit of trouble. He was in the doghouse, and it could have been for things like that where, hey, I need you to have more of a sense of urgency in the route all the time. Again, I don't know. I haven't heard that at all. But it kind of looked that way a little bit. Or he just can't outrun Michael Jackson for Seattle.
Still waiting for that Brandon Aiyuk breakout. Wink, is it coming?
This week. Him and Jimmy hooking up.
Well, if he averages 5 for 62, which he has 62 yards, I believe. If he averages that, I mean, he's over 1,000 yards. So will we consider that a breakout, or what is considered a breakout?
Right. And the PI is a big play, right? It doesn't get on it's not on the stat sheet, but those are huge plays, sets up a score when you have a deep ball.
Move the football.
PI penalty like that. So yeah,
first downs.
Chuck it. Throw some yellow balls. The ball's gonna fly a little bit further too, in Denver, right? This game's in Denver, right? Sunday night?
Yeah.
At the Broncos? Okay. So, yeah, chuck it up, man. Mitch Wisnowski, $13 million 4-year extension. Woo! He's going to be punting it 75 yards in Denver. Let's go.
Early returns on him were not great, right? It was just like, you know what you're supposed to be getting, and, he's one of those Ozzy-style kickers. How does it play out in the game? And I didn't think there was any type of, oh, man, he's just so much better than other guys. Has that changed? I don't pay attention a whole lot to the punter, but
he looks good.
Is he consistently pinning guys or doing things that maybe like the Dickerson kid out of Seattle? And I say kid, but, I mean, he's been in the league for a while now. But is he doing things like some of these other punters who were drafted, 4th, 5th round or whatever?
I'm not a punting expert, but he looks like a solid punter, like nothing spectacular.
What he's not doing
Dixon level.
He's not booting it into the end zone, right? He's kicking it out. He's veering it towards the sidelines. I've been watching Wisnowski, and I think he's been great. It's been inside the 10, inside the 20. He's definitely pinning guys back, and it's not, he's not over kicking his coverage into the end zone, which is exactly what you want your punter to do. So I'm all about the Wisnowski signing.
All right, Wink. I'm going to lean on you for that. Next Wednesday, we need the Wink Wish report, and you let us know what his average punts are, how many he's down inside the 20. Remember back in the day with our original podcast, Gold Faithful, we had pinioned inside the 20. Where
we kept track.
Wink's been a punter aficionado for a long time, so next week we'll check in on the Wink Wish meter, and we'll figure out what's going on there. All right,
Wish report coming next week.
Absolutely.
I don't buy it.
All right. We had another successful Winky Wednesday, in my opinion. Nick, thank you for joining us as always.
My pleasure, gentlemen.
Croc and I back tomorrow with Cody Rourke of Locked On Broncos, Niners, Broncos crossover. It's already going to be a week 3 crossover. Man, the season happens so fast once you're in season. All this stuff we're talking about, like what could be happening all off season long. Once it starts happening, it's like, oh my gosh, it's happening fast. So we're back at it. Crossover Thursday tomorrow, right here, Locked On 49ers.
See ya.